Dear friends, this video is about the United Nations Security Council and the veto powers that have been given to the 5 permanent states, that is USA, USSR, UK, France and China. Initially, the victors of the Second World War were USA, USSR and United Kingdom were the permanent members of the United Nations Security Council. On the recommendations of the United Nations President Franklin D. Roosevelt, the Republic of China, Taiwan, that was formerly Taiwan, was part and parcel of the United Nations Security Council. In 1971, the People's Republic of China was included in the United Nations Security Council. And then UK Prime Minister Winston Churchill had recommended for the inclusion of France state in the United Nations Security Council in order to face the aggressions, if at all, being forced by the USSR or from Germany. This was the position of formation of the United Nations Security Council in 1946 and thereafter. The point herein is that in the recent war on the Ukraine by Russian military, the veto power has been exercised in the United Nations Security Council's the United Nations Security Council's recommendation in imposing the checks and balances on Russian military force on waging war in Ukraine was averted by the power that has been exercised by Russia under veto power. In the past, the erstwhile USSR had used these veto powers more than 100 times, and the United States of America is coming under second category. In the latest part, the China has acquired this veto power in recent times, and from 1989 onwards, the United Kingdom and France have decided not to exercise these veto powers. The point herein is that the sovereignty and democratically elected government of Ukraine have been waged war by the military forces of Russia without adhering to the UN Charter and without adhering to the aims and objectives of the formation of the United Nations General Assembly, and in averting succeeding wars and avoiding the future generations of devastating consequences because of war against another country. Our point is this: in order to avert all these situations, the veto powers that have been given to the United Nations Security Council member states, 5 member states are there, it should be reformed in such a way. What should be the reform made in this regard is this: the United Nations Charter reform ought to be made in such a way in the United Nations General Assembly by 2/3 majority, giving empowerment of all the 193 member states in the United Nations General Assembly to take stock of the situation and deciding according to the majority opinions of the states in the United Nations General Assembly, instead of taking decision in the United Nations Security Council and using the veto power to alter the exercise of the decision taken in the United Nations Security Council. The point herein is that in the year 2021 itself, the General Assembly President Volkan Bozgirin had sought for reforming the United Nations Security Council as an important objective. I quote, The implementations of the Council's decision and its very legitimacy could be enhanced if the Council was reformed to be more representative, effective, efficient, accountable and transparent. This was the firm opinion of the United Nations General Assembly President Volkan Bozkir, so as to revamp and reform the United Nations Security Council. Unless or otherwise taking measures on the lines of the United Nations General Assembly President Volkan Bozkir in this respect, the jeopardy of intruding into the sovereignty of the nation of elected government would be in a great danger. The Ukraine state is a classical example. The duly elected government of Ukraine have been devastated by the Russian military force without adhering to any UN charter, any democratic norms, and what all are the objectives of the United Nations have been failed. Hence, the United Nations Security Council should be democratized and its veto power should be eliminated, so as to give powers to the United Nations General Assembly to take stock of the situations. This is the message of this video. Thank you so much.